Yahoo! Your six is on fire. There it is.
We're like, I don't know, a good portion of the way through. At this point, I'm just like wondering what'll come up at this point because I'm not good with songs at all. So, good on you for getting this far at least.
I honestly at one point I was like, this will be easy, and then I thought this will be hard, and now I'm like, you know what? Maybe we might squeak all the way through to the end of the season. Time will tell. We will see. That being said, hi Jack.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored, and so excited to see you because we have the opportunity to talk about such an exciting episode of Ascendance here on Recendance.
Yeah, just small things happen. Nothing really important with me at
No,
all.
not at all.
Not at
We
all.
had Jack's funeral. There wasn't a battle back. There wasn't like 19 competitions. There absolutely wasn't an icon and a legend who was sent home. Very, very passe episode. You
Yeah, if we'll be done in like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
So
10 minutes
yeah.
tops. That being said, before we launch into those beautiful, beautiful 10 minutes, we have a few people we need to thank.
Yes, we do. Thank you once again to the Subversion team for giving me the lovely password to set all this up. Thank you to Duke and his channel Lost at Sea for giving us a place to post these episodes. Go check out The Descendants with Duke and Scott covering this season so far. It is a very interesting perspective and also significantly shorter.
Significantly
And
shorter.
finally, thank you to the Ascendance team for the blessing to do this, and also for Papa and Rachel for the graphics this season. Um, I have said a good amount of names, and I think we should probably bring some of them on along with the eliminated player this week.
I think that is a remarkably fantastic idea.
So let's welcome on the I was trying to not say her direct name, but then there's no way around the pun I want to make. The Rose to my Jack, Rose, along with Lee and Papa. You know, just some very casual people. Maybe the host of the show, and then also, the person who gave me the access to do this in the first place.
There you go. It's a very stacked dais, we should say, of people conversing about this week's episode. And Rose, we are remarkably thrilled to have you back. Lee, we're thrilled to have you back as well. We are honored, blessed, and dare I say, undeserving of the time, of the talent, of the beauty, the grace. She's Miss United States. Papa is joining us. So it is quite the stacked conversation this evening. We're so excited. We're going to try and keep the trend of keeping our episodes lower and lower in time. I'm not banking on it, and I'm not even holding us to it. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's amazing to see all three of you, as well as Jack, my co-host, who's just my co-host with the Mo host. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going with that, but it sounded cuter in my mind.
But Rose, how have you been?
I've been great. I mean, watching the episodes back. I mentioned this in Sedona's episode, but it's been months since the game, and over time things just kind of trickle out of your mind as as time goes on. And so seeing it and then not exactly remembering what you said and what you did, and then seeing how it's all edited together, it's actually a very fun experience.
Lee, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back as I want to say our first second guest that we've had so far. How have you
I've
been?
not been a guest yet, actually.
Oh, my brain is fried.
I was like, because Rose
I
has been a guest, Sedona's been a guest. I think those are our two double A's thus far.
Yes.
I've not been a guest yet. It's good. I want to say I was thinking the same thing Rose was saying. I am watching some of these episodes back, and I'm pretty sure that I just blacked out or something because even I see things that I say, and I'm thinking I don't remember saying that. or even some of these exit speeches. I don't remember hearing that, or I don't remember making that face, or I don't remember reacting that way. And so I'm excited watching these episodes because not only do you get to see the whole experience of how some people felt about things where you were just like playing as yourself, but you also look back and you're like, who was I?
And finally, Papa, welcome back to your 5th time as a guest. Like, incredible that you've had this streak the entire time. How have you been?
I've been amazing. You know, it's been years and years since I've been here. It feels like. Thanks for having me.
The episode starts with what I consider one of my favorite confessionals of the entire season, which is Andrew describing your departure, which I was really hoping my confessional, and there's so many amazing confessionals, so you can't even get mad at anyone if yours doesn't get used. But I literally was just like, these people are acting like Jack is Old Yeller about to be taken out back and shot in the forehead. It was so wild watching some of the reactions to your leaving. And then especially you had the iconic 17-minute Andre from Project Runway departure speech. It was so funny. But anyway, it was valid just because you had such a mark on the season. So I was only going to ask if Rose, Papa, or Lee had anything to say about either your departure, your departing speech, or the opening, or the, what is it, soft open to the episode? If anyone wanted to chime in on that. Sorry, Jack.
I just think it's hilarious that Jack sobbed the whole speech, somehow made it through it, and it was still longer than some people's full eliminations, like from vote reveal to the end. I was like, bro, we need to wrap this up. The whole time over there in the corner, like, we need to go.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't shut up.
I want to say, hey, Andrew's thoughts encapsulated my thoughts, but also Andrew slaying confessionals recently. He's really like eaten up. I think that the show has been kind of slower to show Andrew's perspective, or at least Andrew's perspective hasn't really come alive much yet. And I feel like you've really seen it, especially this last episode. But when Andrew really gets into confessionals, he eats them up.
Yeah, I mean, it is genuinely insane how funny he is throughout this entire episode. He genuinely is a narrator throughout it.
I feel like since about the Marshawn episode, at least the Ken, maybe Marshawn, Andrew just has some confessionals where I'm like, number one, I had no idea he was this hilarious. Like, he is genuinely a very, very funny man. And I think, strategically, he and I talked a bit, and we can get into that later. But yeah, no, that opening just brought me so much joy because I was like, okay, I wasn't the only one who was thinking what I was thinking. And at the time, I remember feeling that way. So I know, Lee, you mentioned you felt the same way. Andrew clearly felt the same way. So, I was not thrilled with Jack's departure, but the reaction to Jack's departure had me remarkably confused. But anyway, Jack, you were saying getting into these competitions.
Yes, so we do have, after an emotional exit, an immediate, so we're having a battle back, like basically everyone has speculated, and this time you guys actually get to go see it. Isn't that fun? And everyone is very much either like, oh, that's nice, or really?
Can I take a nap? Do I have to watch? I want to go lie down. I want to drink some Powerade. I want to not be around these people because they're horrible and they make me sad. Or was that just me? Was that just me?
I do want to give a piece of perspective here because you see us outside and we look unhappy, and it's not because of the battle back. I mean, maybe it's because of the battle back, but it is fucking hot outside. It is really hot. We have sunscreen on, and like many of us have gotten the sunscreen in our eyes at this point, and we are like not being able to get out of our eyes. We are burning our eyes. We are unhappy to be outside. We could not give a fuck less about what's going on, holding balls on a plate, because I mean, you see at one point like Maddie has sunscreen in his eyes, like he's like ready to like fully medevac himself. Like I have them in my eyes. Like it's either you get burned or you just have it like streaming through your pores. It's awful. And the sun was, I cannot remember like a time that week being outside in the sun feeling that hot.
Mm-hmm.
I think on top of that, I thought it was you when I was about to say it, and I was like, no, maybe it was Andrew. He was burning in his ears, like his ears were turning like beet red. And so I at one point was like, I tend to be the dead mother when it comes to sunscreen, because I'm like, if I get like the lightest of sunburns, I am such a bitch. So I'm the one just there with the Q-tip with my finger, just like, let's get in there. Let's make sure that he's covered. And it's like, this is the most intimate I have been in this entire game with anyone. And I know I am definitely far behind some of my beloved cast members when it comes to that. But I'm also just like, you are not turning beet red on my watch, damn it. Anyway, yeah, it was really hot. And I was like, kind of like what to Lee's point, I was like, this is probably going to go a while. Can we go inside? Not that I'm complaining. I just don't want to melt out here. It's like, oh, this humidity is beautiful for people who are used to it. I'm from the desert. We ain't got this.
I don't think humidity is good for anyone, used to it or not.
I'm just like, it's one of those. This is absolutely beautiful to look at, but this humidity, man, who builds a city here? But that's just me.
No one. That's why we're alone on top of a mountain.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure there were like, you could see I'm wearing a black and white shirt, which, just to be clear, I burned after this. Like, what the actual fuck was I wearing? But
I
I'm
love
pretty
that
sure
shirt.
I didn't like it on me after the fact, but like you can see like those black marks probably all translated to burns at the end of the day. Like I probably looked like a full-on leopard in like white and red at some point. Like it was not fun.
It was yummy, I'm sure, for somebody who got to see it. So going into, I'm sorry, I'm going to hell. Going into Battleback, is there anyone? What's everyone's thoughts? So we've got Sedona, we've got Charlie, we've got Veronica, we've got Marshawn, Ken, and Jack. For what was it? Anyone in the room or anyone in the circle right now? Who may have everyone been hoping or thinking might come back, want to come back? Would be interesting if they came back. Where was everyone's heads at?
I didn't want anyone to come back. When you vote people out of the game, you don't want them to come back. And that's just my perspective on it. I think that there were certain people that would have been better for the game. Like I think Jack was nice because everyone was so sad about voting Jack out. But I think like for peak drama, probably Ken coming back would have been the best for the game because Ken had all these enemies. And so if Ken had come back, I would have been pretty happy to like revolving door him back out. But it would have been fun to watch it because I think it would have stirred up the game. But I didn't want anyone to come back.
I think Sedona coming back would have been iconic. And for a while there, it looked like she might.
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of like a producer mindset, I wanted Sedona or Ken to come back because I felt like those two storylines. Sorry, Jack. Those two storylines had the most to like build on because like you kind of had Ken trying to form an army before he left, and then like you would have that beef of like, oh well, Maddie screwed me over. Like let me do all this again, and then Sedona's whole like story arc of, oh well, she can't really do well in comps to winning 3 comps in a row to come back in. Like, try not to say mother challenge level impossible.
You know, I didn't really have anyone in particular I wanted to come back. But other than me, I was kind of hoping it was Sedona just because of literally the fact that she was just like, yeah, no, I'm going to destroy you all at this point. Like, I don't care. You all fucked with me. You're going to learn why that was a bad idea. Like, I was ready to be like, you know what? Yeah, no, that's fair. If someone's going to come back, it's going to be her, and she's going to wreck shop.
I was in the exact same boat in the sense that my top two, no offense to the other four, my top two were Jack and Sedona. Mostly because I was really looking forward to working with both of them. Sedona, I think, got kind of a raw deal. And then with Jack leaving, it was very wait, but why? You're all sad and crying, so don't vote him out. There's someone with the pendant. What? Why don't we vote out the person with the pendant? What? Who? It doesn't make sense. So that was where my brain was at. And then because we had gone head to head, in my mind, I was like, love him as a person. I don't want Ken to come back. Just because that was such a dramatic kind of moment that he and I, or moments that we had, where I was just like, please don't bring my oppressor back into this. I'm kidding. Just a joke. But please do not let Ken come back into this game, just because I didn't know if he'd be able to brush it off and just say, let's move forward, bygones be bygones, or if he'd be like, nope, you and Maddie are targets 1 and 2. So yeah, I was very much just like Team Jack, Team Sedona. Like, I'm happy with either one of those two. So,
Yeah, I mean, it is funny to think that had we actually organized and gotten Maddie out, probably Sedona comes back. And that is the first piece interesting thing here. I will say, I've told you all this. I did not want Sedona to come back because I had taken her bed. And I knew that I was going to be like an asshole if I didn't allow her to have her bed back. So I'm putting like these little curses on her from the outside because I'm like, I do not want to give up my bed. I have a great bed. I do not want to go sleep in the smelly ass Coliseum. And I need her to stay out of the game so I can stay in bed with Rose.
what a remarkably valid reason to want someone's journey to just completely die and end with no chance of revival.
Convenience is my main motivator, baby.
We know that's not true, but no, I'm kidding. So, in case anyone wasn't sure,
I'm not meant to live an uncomfortable life. So.
You know what? And I think not only do I agree with that for you, I think you deserve. That's the word I'm looking for. You deserve nothing less. I have a cat, everyone. If anyone was curious, who's really excited to see everybody. That being said, we do get our first round of challenge, which is the balancing ball challenge, which I'm that individual. It just depends on the day. It depends on the wind. It depends on how tired I am. I can either balance like the best of them or I'm the first one out. So to Lee's point earlier about not wanting anyone to come back into the game, I'm of the mindset of I don't want people to come back if I haven't been voted out. If I've been voted out, by all means, let's have a battle back. So, but that's just me because I'm selfish. But when I saw that, I was like, ooh, this is probably for the best I was not voted out yet, because I don't know that I would have been one of the top 4 in this one. It really would have depended. How about y'all?
I'm actually okay at endurance comps, but the balancing 3 balls on a frisbee, I've never done that before, so I don't know if I would have had the strategy down. Like Charlie explained the strategy later, which was basically just stick it flat on your hand, you know. I can't remember if it was him who said it or if I thought of it later. Like I think I remember asking, what if you lick your hand and then stick the plate on? I mean, we've established we're disgusting. Maybe that it would be just normal.
I feel like that's going to be like what our cast is known for, is just sponges and being gross. But yeah, it begs the question. I almost wonder, I just have very large hands. I almost wonder if that would be an advantage, because the surface that I'd be balancing the disc on would potentially be, I'd cover more space. But even still, if you have either unstrong wrists or anything like that, I don't know. We can dissect that for ages. We've got like 20 competitions to power through, so I'm gonna shut the hell up. But yeah, so we see that. We also see a little bit of tension between Sedona and Charlie. I don't know that I was there for that moment, and if I was, I might have been helping people put sunblock on. So I don't fully remember being there in that heat of that. Do y'all remember that going on?
Yes.
Silly me, why am I asking? Of course you remember. It was right next to you.
I just remember I went over to announce the battle back, and they had already started bickering, the two of them, like going back, like, I'm gonna beat you, like, you're not coming back in, like, there's no way. And I'm just like, I was like, whoa. I was like, what did I walk into?
Get a
'Cause, like,
camera, get a camera.
Jack's over there, like, trying to tell a story of, like, what happened. And then I was like, battle back time. And they're all like, you're going down. Like, the vibe just changed.
And of course, the whole time, I can't tell them there's a battle back. I've walked past it. So I'm just like, yeah. And like, I'm really sad. And like, it's. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, I'm going to have to fight these people in like 5 minutes. Just mentally keep that in mind.
Jack, it was so merciful of you to allow them to continue their feud after the battle back.
Believe me, we missed, unfortunately, some Charlie promo on this episode, and that was him consistently and constantly telling Veronica to keep it up and that she's doing a good job. And this was for 45 minutes. And honestly, with the heat and the sweat and everything, I wanted to die.
God bless Charlie. God bless Charlie. I don't remember that, so I must have been inside for this.
No,
it was it just like a you got this, girl, you got this. We're both gonna make it to the next round, or like what was the vibe?
He like fully kept looking at her and goes, your ball's like moving a little, like turn your hand a little this way, like move your arm a little this way, you got it, like turn away from the wind. And I'm like, are you trying to get back in, or are you trying to help her get back in? Because if you're trying to just help her, just drop. Like,
the issue was Charlie was so solid that he was never going out. So he immediately felt comfortable to be like, I'm a waiter. This is exactly how you do this challenge, Veronica. And this was a constant loop for all 45 minutes of this challenge. I wanted to drop and walk off the mountain.
We were watching different things because I can tell you most of the cast was not watching this. And I don't think I paid attention to any.
Certainly not paying attention close enough to hear any of this, and certainly not enough to remember any of this. I think most of it was just like me glancing over sometimes and then chatting with people, maybe being annoyed at the sun, being annoyed at bees or whatever. Like, and just like, so watching this back, I said, wow, I totally missed Sedona snapping at Charlie like that.
Yeah. I mean, and you see other people that are very preoccupied. Sam obviously goes into the bushes and does his thing. I am a little salty because I pretended to go pee at least twice in the bushes just so I could be in the shade for a few minutes. And I didn't look for anything. Didn't look for shit. Because I just wanted to be in the shade. I wanted to be alone and not have to watch this battle back. And I did not look for anything because I was like, oh, they're not going to hide anything during a battle back.
Well,
because why would they do something like that?
I wouldn't have found it anyway because I had gone partially blind from the sunscreen in my eye. So
that is true. I remember you and Maddie specifically. I think the entire second day, it was just he got a little bit in his eye and he was just done for like hours. Poor guy. That's wild. And then what was it? Oh, you mentioned Sam going off to utilize the restroom, and Sam winds up finding a pendant. Number one, someday I'm going to sit Papa down and be like, when exactly do y'all throw these out here? When do you hide them? When do they go up? Is it like after lunch? Is it after every meal? Because I swear at this point, I have found Jack the entire game, and I'm clearly doing something very wrong.
We will never reveal our secrets, but let's just say it is any and every time we have a chance. Even sometimes when you guys are right there. So the amount of powers that were hidden this season, because every season we hear, we weren't allowed in this area for a while, there must be something there. We did the complete opposite. When y'all would go run and look for that, we'd go put it in the spot that you were just in, because then why would you come back and look in the spot that you were just in? Because you all were just here for hours and hours and hours.
Diabolical, but genius.
I mean, thing I'd found out to this point was a fucking power on a door, and apparently I just wanted water and I found it instead, and Veronica threw me under a lovely bus. So, I just decided not to look anymore. Like, it was over.
I think I had seen enough people getting into trouble because they had powers where I'm like, if I see one, great. I'm not going to go too out of my way to find one. But that being said, moving back to the balancing challenge, did anyone else have anything else they wanted to mention about Les Balancing Challenge? Because we do unfortunately see the fall of both Marshawn and Veronica in this competition, who to me I'm like the most stylish members of the cast. I'm probably omitting one who wasn't in the battle back, but does anyone have any either shout outs or final thoughts they want to throw out there to Miss Veronica or Mr. Marshawn?
Valiant effort by both of them. I mean, I think I don't remember much of the battle back, but I do remember Molly and I talking at one point and her saying exactly what she said in the confessional, which was Marshawn has not moved. He has not moved a muscle. So I was surprised that he was the first one out, to be honest.
I do remember the same thing and being like, that man is a statue.
Hmm.
Like he is so solid. And then I know specifically I was not there when he fell or when his ball dropped. And the fact that it had gone on for 45 minutes, I know I probably never would have had the attention span to keep focusing. My mind would have wandered. I would have been looking at the other players. I would have been making faces. I would have been dumb. But yeah, Veronica was such an icon and she looked so solid. I love Veronica in general. Love doing her episode. Marshawn, we didn't get to do his episode with him, but Marshawn, if you ever happen to see this, we love you. You're fantastic. You're amazing. And I'm so thrilled both of you got to be part of season 6 with us.
I will say, just at the end of this, you can immediately see me attempt to drop that plate as quickly as I can. I had 2 minutes left. I had 2 minutes. My body is already twitchy as it is. My brain was fried. I knew if that had gone on any longer, I was done. So this was a really, really rough challenge for me. I am so happy this was not the only thing we did, because if it was, no chance I came back.
So you really think had Veronica stayed in for like 2 more minutes, that would have been it for you? Wow.
My balls were already like sliding apart as it was.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that at all.
Second thing I've said that just has horrible context on this podcast. But
hey, the fact that we've made it to this is episode what 7, and you've only had 2, I'm impressed. I think I've had about 7, so you're just catching up to me at this point.
I mean, we made a lot of comments, I think, about the cast carrying balls in their hands, things like that. Because we're adults.
We missed the opportunity of like the live commentary, like the way Jeff Probst will do it, and be like, "Jack's balls are separating."
I was like, you really need to focus in on those balls of yours, Jack.
Veronica's balls are getting kind of wiggly.
Oh my god, there goes our PG rating on YouTube.
it was gone the minute I started talking. So honestly, we just hit M. Like, it's gone.
I was going to say, he's starting to fidget with his balls a little bit. We're not entirely confident it's going to work out for him.
Let's see how you handle a third ball.
It's like, sir, there is no ending to the amount of balls I can handle. Thank you. Sorry, Mom. That being said, we move on, minus Marshawn and Veronica, and we go into a cube, or a block stacking challenge, where the object is to stack your blocks as high as you can, and the shortest stack is eliminated. What was it between everybody here? How do you think you would fare in a competition like this?
Bad.
I heard from somewhere that apparently the blocks were not completely straight. They were just a little bit wonky. So you had to be very careful when you were stacking them. And so I never got a chance to play with them later. But I that's what I heard. So in my case, I mean, I I can have steady hands in certain cases, but in a case like this, like if I was fighting for my life, I feel like I would have very shaky hands. So it's hard to know. But yeah, I like to think I would do okay, but you know, who even knows?
That's totally fair. I know. Oh, I didn't know if Papa or Jack, you did this competition, so we'll definitely
Yeah,
get
so
your
we'll
input
talk
in a
about it
second.
in a second.
There you
But
go.
I mean, I do well in all my competitions because I test them. No. I think I do well. I mean, it's just like you have to calm yourself down, and there's always going to be that one person that can't. So I'm always going to be not the most like freaking out of anyone that's competing, but I'll always be like the second most.
I feel like for me, it would start off. I think a lot of the tension would be taken off knowing that it's just one person not moving forward. If it had been, hey, it's two out of the four of you, that's when I think my nerves would potentially work against me. But I'd probably start off really fast in the beginning, build a reasonably high stack, and then just keep looking at everybody else, and then just kind of wait for other people to start dropping or to make a mistake. That way, it's like in these types of speed and balance competitions, more often than not, there's usually at least one person that overplays their hand or overestimates what they can do, and then the whole thing comes down, as we unfortunately kind of see happen. So that probably would have been my strategy going into this. But Jack, you competed in this competition. Did you have you did an interesting? It was like a 4x4 base, and then were you stacking kind of on top of that, or?
so I have seen.
I said 4x4. I meant 2x2. I'm dumb.
Close enough.
2x2.
I have seen a lot of reality TV, especially Taskmaster and very similar shows where this kind of thing is common. And what I always know happens is that someone will drop at basically the last second. So my goal, knowing the restrictions of the competition where it's only the shortest stack is eliminated, is to go, I need to beat one person. One person will screw this up because no one else is going to do this. I'm going to make sure I have a stable stack that no matter what will survive to the end. That way I get through the round no matter what. And as such, you see me building a 2x2 stack. At one point, part of it falls, but it's like two of the four towers that I have. So no matter what, I'm always at a stable level during this competition, and I can continue to build up this entire time. I end up, I think, using basically all my blocks, maybe like one or two I have in my hand just as like last minute stacks if I need it. But I kind of just use this as a way, one, to not panic because my hands were already shaky and don't do well with that. But two, to just be like, you can get through this and just deal with whatever comes next.
I remember thinking watching this that you and Ken, there was no way either of you were losing because Ken had that really smart plan too of making the two separate towers. And I thought in contrast, watching Sedona's, while Sedona's tower was steady, so risky because it was just that very singular tower that if it falls, there was no way she would come back from it. And I kept thinking the whole time how inventive it was that just there was never a world, at least from our end watching, that you and Ken were going to lose that challenge. I do have to say, given all of the gross things that we had done, I was surprised no one thought to lick the blocks because I was waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, no, that's fair. 2 out of 3
Y'all-
challenges can be solved by licking. Of course it can.
Y'all apparently know something about saliva that I don't, because I'm struggling between licking with the frisbee and licking with the. I guess with the blocks, I could see it a little bit easier benefiting, but even then, I'd be like, I don't know. I think it's interesting how the brain works in different ways depending on who you ask when it comes to strategizing for a competition. I don't know where those blocks had come from, so I was not trying to lick anything. But I also wasn't part of SpongeGate, so what do I know? What do I know at all?
I mean,
I
this
will-
is the
Go.
group that was explicitly told during the ice challenge that we couldn't pee on the ice block. So
We're
Yeah, no, we were
we're a
already
nasty
there.
bunch. We're a nasty bunch.
And we
for sure.
still made it gross. We still made. Okay, I No, okay, no, we all made it gross. That I did something horrific. Rose shoved it in her pants, and Monty actually was the most sane. So like,
I'm sitting here like I avoided the ice situation. I avoided the sponge situation. I avoided, to my knowledge, Papa will have to keep me honest. I think I avoided licking things in general. I think my experience in the Ascendance house was pretty G-rated as far as competitions go. I can't remember. That being said, we do sadly see Charlie's stack. I do remember watching this one, and I do remember at the very, very end, like with I think it was less than 10 seconds to go, Charlie's tower just crumbles. And Charlie, like I mentioned before, he wasn't necessarily someone that I was emotionally pushing too hard compared to Sedona or Jack to get back into the game. But I know if the roles were reversed, I know my heart would have just absolutely crushed had it been me. And my heart did crush for Charlie as well, seeing that stat go, just because there was so not enough time for him to even attempt to come back in. Um, Papa, what was that like for you watching that kind of go down? Because from a cinematic standpoint, it's dramatic for sure.
Yeah, in the moment, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna eat in like an edit because it's gonna be like, oh, it's close, who's gonna win?" And then it's just bam, like, and then everyone knows like it's over. I mean, and like that's why I think Rachel did the ending that she did, where it wasn't even me announcing like Charlie, you lost, because like there was literally no coming back from it. Like it was he had one or two blocks. Like, my heart broke for him, but in an editing post season standpoint, I was jumping for joy as the dramatic takeaway was happening.
I'm trying to think. Before it fell, would he have been safe had his tower not fallen?
I
I don't
don't think
remember.
so.
I feel like I remember his tower not being particularly high compared to the other three. I feel
I
like he
think
still might.
Sedona was number one,
Yeah.
and then I think it was Ken and Jack were like even, and then I think Charlie had a few blocks up he had to get to.
Okay.
yeah,
So it was
I
really.
had one or two in my hand just in case he had managed it to
Yeah.
be like, I can put this on at the very last second to like try and overtake.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
No,
It
that's
felt
totally fair.
watching it like Charlie Stack fell because he was rushing to try and beat the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's tricky because you want to add things on there and you want to give yourself, if not a lead, but heaven forbid someone catches the lead and their thing is steady and you've been holding back the whole time. There's so many things that go into this as far as how do you strategize and how do you actively or accurately assess how sturdy your tower is. If you pause, kind of watch other people, wait for them to catch you, and then heaven forbid you start stacking again and your tower is not sturdy. It's wild, but we do sadly see Charlie's time in the Ascendance game come to an end. Charlie, ever the icon, was. I remember him being relatively supportive as far as good luck to whoever stays in. I want to say, someone help me. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. That
Okay.
generally supportive, a little
Yeah.
crushed, but fine.
Yeah. I think what was it? It would have been interesting to see kind of like a head-to-head Charlie Sedona situation, just because that seemed to be the rivalry in the vote out villa for sure. But yeah, it was Charlie. Charlie is such a character and such an icon, but we do end up losing him in round 2, and then we move into round 3, which is the ball sort puzzle. Jack, walk us through what is going through your mind as you are prepping to make this a thing, or to do this challenge, I mean.
The second that I walk into the kitchen, I feel Rachel Lamont just full on possess me. I just immediately know kind of what I have to do. This is a puzzle I've very much seen before. It's a puzzle I've literally thrown at players in my own game. Granted, normally it's a bit less restrictive in terms of what you can actually do. This is easily the hardest version of this puzzle I've ever seen, just because there was essentially no wiggle room. It was one column, and you had to make the pattern versus unsort it. Sorting it back into its normal state is relatively simple. Making a specific pattern is a very, very different skill set than what I usually dealt with. So it was very, very difficult to actually like visualize this and essentially do the reverse of what I've always done.
Yeah, Rose and Lee, have you ever done a puzzle like this? Because I've done like a ball sort puzzle, not quite like we've seen on Survivor or in the Ascendance game, but one where you have like balls and vials. It's like an app. So I've done something similar, but never quite that thorough. Have either of you done it? And if so, how confident would you have been doing something like this?
I mean, not very confident. First of all, I don't have a lot of experience handling balls. And secondly,
Gets easier with practice.
secondly, it's a very like it seems to me to be kind of like a Tower of Hanoi situation, which when there's only three, I can do it. Only three towers, I can do it. But when there's more, more than that, it just becomes me flinging stuff everywhere, just trying to get it done. So I do not feel confident in my ability to do that at all. Maybe I need to practice a little bit, but but yeah, like that. When I saw that, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this looks awful. you know.
I think this would have been better for me than had this and the stacking been reversed, because if I had to be the best at the stacking, like the single best, I would have never done that. I'm a pretty like mathematical, analytical, like puzzly kind of person, and so I had never done anything like this before, but I feel like if you can do one, you can kind of pick up any in terms of puzzles. And so I mean, Jack is we saw this, and I think that it kind of had Jack written all over it. The pleasant surprise was watching Sedona kill it also, and like this is one of those things from watching in real time. The edit like is not misleading. Like it was really so close to watch this. And while we're all thinking this is Jack's competition and you're all thinking this is Jack's competition, it really was such a neck and neck race between the two of them.
Yeah, I remember because I was judging Sedona, like we had one judge on each person. So like if someone yelled check, it was like on the dot that like we checked it. And I looked over at one point and I was like, oh, she's blowing them like out of the water. And then I'd look over again and I'd be like, oh, like Jack's catching up. Like this is like dramatic. And then they were like both in the last row. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what is going on here? I was like, Sedona, please pull through. Like it was super close. Like had she had 20 more seconds, I think she would have had it.
I mean, I'll be honest. I did not have the good strategy for this for like the good first minute of this challenge. I was very much just trying to figure out how to get this done properly. The funny thing is, you don't really see how it's done on Survivor. It just kind of like, what's happening, but you have no idea on the specifics because it's kind of boring. But there's a more interesting thing of like weights falling off the side like every 20 seconds. But it is so much harder to go from, oh, okay, I know how to do this puzzle normally, to no, I have to change my entire strategy here. I have to treat this like a slide puzzle. I have to throw balls into places that feel right and then just kind of like shift things around. So the fact that Sedona was so close, like, of all scenarios, I was kind of happy that I was like, look, either I get it or Sedona walks back into this game after that kind of exit. I'm happy either way, but like there's a scenario where I'm much happier, and it's the one where I solve this.
That was actually, you brought up a good point, and that was my next question was, if you, Jack, were not able to come back into the game, was there someone of the other five that you were specifically rooting for or would have liked to have seen gone back into the game? And it sounds like it could have been Sedona, but was it?
It was always Sedona. I mean,
Yeah.
She got a really, really short end of the stick where, I mean, she unfortunately didn't strategize well in round one, but I think coming back into round 7 at this point, She could have actually done some damage. People probably would have given her a lot of pity. She could have easily made it into groups as long as she strategized the next round really well. And I think it could have worked. I don't think she was likely to get revolving doored, as people had other problems.
Yeah, I think with how the game was going and how so many like buildups of drama were happening, I think Sedona could have easily planted herself in some sort of group and really like went far in the game instead of people just being like, oh, she can't do comps. Because like we're at the point where it's like half of us are talking about like, oh, like people are winning too many comps, people aren't winning any comps. Like, so now you can't just point her out and be like, oh, well, I don't think she'll do well at any comp, because now you can't say that. She won 3 comps.
Yeah.
No, that's remarkably valid. And, you know, it would have been such a serve, and I probably would have done a backflip while sitting in my own chair had Sedona won. That being said, we love Sedona. We also love Ken. We do see the return of Jack into the main game. And that was watching you kind of have your reaction to that. Or actually, before I jump into that, Rose, Lee, and Papa, what was your reaction to see Jack coming back into the game? What were your thoughts? What were your feelings?
Anytime someone comes back in the game, I don't know, I'm just kind of like, yay, congrats. I just think like a lot of the times people take it for granted, like in terms of like the people that are coming back, especially the ones that like just have went out and are coming back in. So I was interested to see how Jack would take it, because a lot of times people will just come back right back in and be like, nothing changed. Like, yeah, y'all voted me out, but it's like I never left. And I was like, Jack had a lot to say before he left. Let's see what he's gonna say when he comes back in.
I love you, Jack, and I was really happy for you. It did, as a player, make the whole like last part of that day feel like a wash, in some ways. Like, and that's nothing against you, but like, you know, as someone who was, and I think Alex can probably relate here, as someone who was really frustrated in the last part of that day, it did just kind of feel like we wasted several hours, all for this to happen and for you to come back. So I think it was a good time to end the day, because I was just ending that day feeling very frustrated myself.
I mean, I have a soft spot for underdogs, and I felt like Jack was an underdog. So was Sedona. So I would have been very happy if she had come back too. But seeing Jack come back, I mean, I was genuinely glad glad that he was coming back. So, and I won't hide it. I mean, I was crying a lot, and a big reason for the crying. I know people have been asking why and stuff, and a big reason for that was just Jack's pleading with me, like in the during strategy. Like I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and like I said, I saw Jack as an underdog, and he had been like fighting for his life for several rounds, and so the way he was pleading with me, it just turned on the waterworks for me, which kind of set everyone else off. So so I was glad Jack was back. I'll just say it. I'll be open and proud about it. I was happy he was back, and you can hear it in our reaction. I mean, I don't really know why Molly and Antoinette were cheering so loud, but I was cheering loud.
You can see it in basically, you can see it in most people's faces where they're like, yeah, you know what, I'm happy with this. There are definitely a couple people who are like, yes, okay, this is a good option. You can see Stevie's face and he's like, really?
Wait, whose face?
Stevie.
Oh, okay.
There's something about, you could see everyone just like either like kind of like neutral or smiling, and Stevie is visibly pissed.
Oh, I will say, not to contradict what Lee was saying, but at that point Jack was one of my closest allies in the game, so I was elated to see him come back. I also felt semi not responsible, but I felt like I had inadvertently put Jack in harm's way with my captain's picks, because sadly strategically was not thinking of well, Alex, build a team so you have some options if people, or if the team that you pick loses. I was just like, I just want to pick the people that I feel I want to protect. And then it was like, oh, what have I done? So when Jack was in the hot seat, I was like, I should have either let someone else pick him or not picked him at all, or picked someone else that could have been the fall person if the team lost. So I was about to do backflips. And what was it? I hate saying this with Papa here twice in one recording, but it's one of those, God, I hope they include that confessional, because I was about to jump out of my seat, but everyone else, and mostly the people that voted Jack out, beat me to it because they're dancing in the aisles. It's church on Sunday morning. They're filled with the Holy Spirit because Jack's back. I'm like, you hookers just voted him out. I don't understand the logic. The math ain't mathin'. And I think I was like, I told production during confessionals, I was like, if you zoom in on my face, I know there's a moment of me going, y'all help me understand, because this does not make any sense. And I was really, really happy, and I was scared Jack was going to see my face of confusion and be like, wow, Alex does not seem remotely happy that I'm back, because of all that. So I was thrilled that you made it back in. Like I said, between you and Sedona, I was like, if there was a way that you both could come back in, maybe that's when I'd feel more likely, like, no, we vote people out because we want them to stay gone. But I was late to see you back. And then that would be that. So we get an overnight, and only because we're at 51 minutes and we've only done battle back, is there anything from the overnight conversational things that really jumped out at anyone that they wish to talk about, want to talk about? Because I know y'all are East Coasters, or some of y'all are East Coasters, and I want to let y'all get some chance of getting a full night's sleep so that we're not here talking for the next 2 hours.
The thing that stuck out to me the most when I was editing was this mentality between people of like, we already had like the girls discussion coming up, the girls, but then Alex was still being pushed into that, and now Lee's kind of getting shoved into that, and along with that, like Reynolds with an asterisk, because you see kind of the conversation of Sam and Stevie being like, yeah, I think Reynolds is scared because now he's coming over and trying to finally have a conversation with me, but I think they're just trying to pull in one more number. And then Maddie's confessional of like, we need to build an army to get rid of them. I thought that was interesting, that right after the battle back, this like blew up.
There was one other thing that might have happened after the battle back and might have been my fault. The other part that becomes important is it isn't seen, mostly because it doesn't seem like the VOD footage is really that interesting this season. But during my like 15-20 minute conversation with them, I am basically told, and it's kind of like a two-way miscommunication, that Molly has a pendant. I kind of back specify that, like, oh, I'm pretty sure this is, like, I know that a couple people have powers in the game. Veronica tells me, oh yeah, Molly has something. I kind of say a pendant, responding to Maddie. And the answer I get back is a yes. And in my brain, I go, Molly has a pendant. And of course, I get 15 to 20 minutes of conversation, and then I walk back into the house. So within that time, I hear a very juicy piece of info, which apparently spreads a lot of distrust in the cast. I kind of like feed this information to two different parties. One being Maddie, and this was almost directly after I returned to the game of like, Molly has a pendant, we need to watch out. And I think Monty, I told like 2-ish hours later. And this was a partial play just to see how this information spreads, because I didn't have the best read of like, if I tell Maddie this, if I tell Monty this, how quickly does it get around, and who does it get around to? And who do sources report from? So this is at least a first play for me of like, let me reestablish a position back in this house.
Well, that makes sense because you don't want to come back into the game just to have people say, well, what do we do with Jack? Well, we voted him out once. Let's just do it again. You want to try and extend yourself in a way that people want to keep you. Um, to the conversation about what Papa was bringing up as far as the women being lumped together, it was so bizarre to me because I had so many people come up to me and say, right after the battle back, if not right after Jack's vote out, Rose, Antoinette, and Molly were sitting in a circle, and I'll never forget this because people were just coming up to me left and right, like, "You saw the three girls are all sitting together. They're comparing notes," and I'm like, "Yeah." I've asked people that I'm not taking to the final two, or that I have no intention of taking to the final two, three, or four. Like, what was the name of that competition? Or what team color was this? But the fact that it was just three uteruses in such close proximity together, people were panicked, and I was like, I said it to Sam because at the time he was one of my closest allies. Because he had shown concern about it as well, if I'm remembering right. Sam, forgive me if I'm misquoting you. And I just remember being like, well, if three guys are sitting in a circle having a full conversation, are y'all keeping track of guy A, B, and C are all talking for 15 minutes, and then B, D, and E? It's like, no, we're just paying attention because it's three women. I just remember thinking, that just, huh, weird. I didn't, and we'll end up talking about it again. And I know we're already
Oh,
pressed for
we
time.
will.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it. But I just remember just thinking, why is everyone so worried about the three women? And at that point, I was like, I know I had started getting lumped with it, and I was like, I'm not. Oh, and I'm trying. I'm going to ask you to cut this part, Jack, only because I didn't realize how much I repeated myself, not only in confessionals, but also in strategy sessions. And I'm trying desperately not to do that here. So I might catch myself a few times, and I might ask you to cut probably the last 20 seconds. But yeah, it was interesting that there was so much concern about the girls when it was still at this point 13 people in the cast, and the girls were literally three. And Rose, before we kind of launch into the next day, was there any type of alliance between the three women together, just saying, let's
Nope.
take it to the end? Like, was there any, like, let's look out for each other?
Nope.
Like, was there anything?
Nope.
Okay, and that
Like
that was the vibe I got. Please continue. Sorry.
the like the interesting thing, which I mean, you said we're going to do this later. I guess we're going to do it now. So
I'm fine with it.
the interesting thing about being in these games, and there often being the fear of a women's alliance, when it usually doesn't happen until it's either forced to happen or people are assuming it's already happening. So it's like, all right, well, they already think it's happening. Let's make it happen then, you know? And so, like you said, Alex, if three, let's say if any of the three guys were sitting together often, no one would have batted an eye. And the fact that we're three women, the only three women left in the cast, yes, maybe we're comparing notes. We could be talking about our periods. I mean, what do who even knows what we're talking about? So at this point in the game, I didn't really have much of a game relationship with Antoinette. I liked her, but in terms of game stuff, I wasn't having a strong relationship with her. Molly, we had a decent relationship before this game. And in this game so far, I was looking out for her, in that I would have told her if her name came up and if she was in danger. But we weren't working closely together, just because for the vast majority of the game up until this point, we just hadn't had a chance to. And the closest person I was working with was Lee this entire time. And for most of the games that I've ever played, the my closest allies have been men. And you know and it's not like I seek out specifically a man, or the one time a woman was my closest ally. It wasn't like, she's a girl, I have to work with her. And even a few times when the girls did get together and say, let's make a girls alliance, I said, this is a bad idea. you know so it's like this was one reason. This is one reason I actually did not get around to watching this whole episode until yesterday. As at the time of recording this, it is Monday. The episode came out on Thursday. I did not watch the full episode until Sunday because there was it was a little bit triggering for me, honestly, to be to to be lumped into a group like this because especially since there is a huge there's a huge portion of the players of these games who are LGBTQ plus. We know what it's like to be discriminated against, to be looked at as others, to be, you know, lumped together in a group,
Scapegoated.
scapegoated and stuff, yes. And so it's very hard to be in a cast of mostly LGBTQ plus people and still have that kind of thing happening. And so like I will be very honest. I had a very tearful discussion with Daddy Matt after I was voted out. Not immediately after, but sometime after because um it was brought up it was brought to my attention the whole I was voted out because people were scared of the Girls Alliance. And the way it makes you feel when you hear something like that, it feels like nothing you did in the game until that point mattered. Nothing mattered. All that they would ever see me as was one of the girls. And it really made me feel like, I thought they were voting me out because I was a threat. But maybe that wasn't the case. And what and for someone for women to see something like this, or me, just as an example, watching an LRG not long before leaving for Ascendance and seeing the vast majority, in fact, almost the entire majority of the pre-jury being only the women. Like, to see for the women viewers who are watching these games who are maybe interested in trying, or the POCs who are watching where something like that might happen, or anything, any group of people, any group of others, quote unquote others, it's like they might shy away from that, and then everyone in these games looks the same. You know, everyone in these games looks the same, and so like in the end, what Daddy Matt and I talked about was, you know, in the end, the conclusion I kind of came to was, you know, I was voted out because I was a threat. I was voted out because I was one of the women. Both of these can be true. I can celebrate one while still criticizing the other. And the reason why it hurt so much was just seeing the confessionals that I was afraid to see of Molly and Antoinette saying, we need to get rid of Rose to get the attention off of this quote unquote Girls Alliance. You know, it's like, vote me out because I'm a threat. Vote me out 10 times. I don't even care. And what I said at the end was true. I will never take anything in these games personally. The caveat being, unless you make it personal. And that was crossing into personal territory for me, which is why I had a hard time watching the episode back. It has nothing to do with me being voted out. Like I said, vote me out 10 times, vote me out 20 times. I don't care. I could care less. I will hold my head up high. But when it becomes when it comes from something, when it feels like, I should say, when it feels like it comes from a place of something that you can't control, it becomes that's when it turns into something personal. And so, you know, it's not fun. It's really not fun. And we touched on that in Sedona's episode too. That, something you can't control, it's not fun. Um Same thing with Sedona's episode, and I'll say it again here. I don't think any of it was done in malice. I don't think, like, maybe so whoever thought that, maybe they were just looking for a reason to get out a big threat. But in which case, in which case, talk about me as if I'm a threat. Don't talk about me just because, oh no, I'm sitting with the girls, you know. But in the end, what happened happened. But I just hope I did have a discussion with another cast member. I won't say who because that would go into spoiler territory. But I did talk with someone else, and that person said that they had never they had never really considered everything that was talking about, and they would consider it in the future. And that's all I can hope for, really. That people take this and learn from it, and maybe don't make the same mistakes later.
And that was one thing in Alex's game that I really enjoyed that they were doing, was sitting there and speaking up when no one else was, because it's like you see every episode Alex going, okay, why is this an issue? And then no one could give a clear answer. They're just like, well, they're sitting together, and it's like, this can't be the issue. So I just wanted to give some shout outs to Alex there.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, sorry, Lee, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, I don't think I really fully understood the magnitude. And also, I do want to give some props to one thing, because I think you do see some of the spearheading of the elimination being Maddie, who very much is saying, like, I see Rose as a threat. Like, this is like, I see Rose as game, and this is why I'm targeting Rose. So I do want to, like, give Maddie some props there for seeing Rose for the threat she is. But I don't think I fully understood the magnitude of like the way that Rose was feeling, the way the girls were feeling, the way Alex was feeling, until I was lumped in with them in that overnight situation. And I remember having a conversation. I won't say who with, because I don't want to border on anything spoilery, but like someone came in and they said, it might benefit you to vote out Rose because of this and that and the third. And it was really just because I was sleeping in a room with Rose and Alex. I don't think that there was much other reason. I mean, sure, I was saying, like, I don't want to vote out a girl, like, blah, blah, blah. But I think sitting in that moment and realizing when you're lumped in with them, you start to. And I'm not a girl. Like, I can't fully feel that magnitude of the girls alliance assumption, but like when you're lumped in with that and you're like, I didn't do shit, like what happened, you start to feel that like weight for sure. Now me, one of the things that's very funny that you don't see kind of in the later part of that episode is like and I don't want to get too far into this, but when that challenge is happening and we're standing behind the pillar, we're actually having a pretty good conversation about that, like the five of us. And I think we're at one point you're kind of saying like we should kind of lean into that kind of thing. Like if people are going to say we're working together, why not just do that? And so I think that the danger, and I will say the danger of doing this, if you go into a game and you start to create these groups, you might unintentionally create those groups where you now create a group of people working together who were not working together, and that could really upset your game too. Unfortunately for our situation, that did not materialize, obviously, and Rose gets voted out, but you could force people together by the words that you say.
I'm going to go ahead and just to continue the conversation. Number one, I love that we're having this conversation. I think it's a very important conversation to have. Rose, I do want to thank you so much for not only being here, but also being vulnerable enough to speak your truth and also to speak on your behalf and speak on your experiences, because I do think these sort of things matter. And I can't tell you how many times I second guessed myself thinking, or and God bless how much of a broken record I am in Ascendance and probably even here, where I'm just like, I'm not trying to virtue signal anyone. I'm not trying to be Mother Teresa. I'm not trying to get people on the same moral high ground that people probably perceive that I'm on. I'm just sitting here going, why do we have to keep voting out the women? Because if you want to say Rose is a threat, fine. Was Veronica a threat? Was Sedona a threat? It just seems as though whenever there's a there were multiple times in the game where a man's name got thrown out and people are like, no, 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 we shouldn't vote that person, but we shouldn't vote that person out. But it did feel in multiple cases when a woman or a person of color's name got brought up, it was like, well, no, there's an idea. And I even had a moment with Papa because what was it? I think it was either after Veronica. I think it had to have been after Veronica's. My first like day one kind of breakdown. I started getting really emotional in front of Papa because I was like, we just voted out two people of color and two women out of three people. Like those were the demographics, and I was like, uh, I voted out Veronica when I had seen Veronica as a ooh, we're not working together. I like her, but I didn't necessarily advocate it. And I'm sitting here going, am I just participating in, or am I playing a part in what I'm witnessing? And that's where I was like, I don't know that I like how this feels, which I obviously didn't. But I also am like, what am I doing to help change that narrative and to make that not what happens? But also, and my heart will always go out to the women and POCs of the earlier seasons of Survivor and Big Brother. Heaven forbid the POCs, because they were so remarkably outnumbered. Heaven forbid, or even nowadays, where it's like what do I do? Like if I'm voting out people of color, like it could be me next, and is it just going to be X demographic that's largely recommended, and we're just picking off the people that don't fit that demographic? And that is especially how it felt. What was it when you were going? When it was Ken and I kind of going head to head, I'm like, yeah, there's a demographic that no one's that not that people were. I don't think anyone was protecting. To Rose's point, I promise I'll shut the hell up. Sorry, not trying to ramble. I don't think that there's like a house movement to protect one particular demographic, but I also had someone, I won't say names, who was like, I think it's in your best interest to abandon this perception that's being put on you about protecting the women. And I had to look, arguably one of my closest allies in the game, and say, I'm not going to do that because heaven forbid if Marshawn was still in the game and Monty, Marshawn, and I were sitting in a circle and having a conversation about the color of the sky, are we going to be labeled as, oh, it's a POC alliance? So I remarkably was not comfortable with the idea of how I would feel if I was being othered, and I felt like the women were being othered. And to Rose's point, just to land the plane, to Rose's point, it's like, I think when you belong to a demographic that societally, especially for some of us who are a little grayer in the hair, longer in the tooth than others, we know what it's like to be scapegoated. We know what it's like to be othered. It's not a good look to just say, hey, we're going to keep not going after this group, but people who are eliminated belong to this particular demographic that I don't belong to. And I'm like, I know how that feels. I know what that looks like. And that was, again, to land the plane. I wasn't trying to virtue signal anyone, but it just didn't feel right. And yeah, sorry, Rose, go ahead.
And I do also want to say that all of this isn't to say that you should never vote out a woman or a POC in a game. That idea is preposterous. You have to vote them out. But you know, just try not to make that the deciding factor. Try not to make that the thing that makes us an alliance. What is it? Okay, they were sitting together. So there are people who sit together all the time, all around. And what were we discussing? Who even knows? I don't even remember what we were talking about, which means it couldn't have been important. And so like I did hear one quote one time where someone said talking about just society in general, it's easier to see the criminals when they look different from you. And on a smaller scale, I'm not saying this is comparable to that, but on a smaller scale, it does feel like that sometimes in these games. And sometimes it's not as bad, sometimes it's non-existent. This time it did feel a little bit heavy-handed. So, all the love to the cast, all the love to production and everything. I'm not saying anyone did this intentionally or maliciously, but there is a reason why I had a hard time watching this episode back.
No, and what was it? Sorry, I might ask Jack to cut this part. Um, I know for me, it I can't imagine what it felt like from your perspective. I do know that when it did feel like the ball was starting to go in your direction, and when it's like a hey, the women are kind of getting lumped together. I know for me, my heart kind of sank when I found out that Antoinette and Molly. I can't remember if I knew before the vote reveal or after, but once that happened, I was like, dang, like it was almost like a man, am I supporting the ship that or the cart that all the wheels are falling off of right now? Just because at that point, I don't think you and I had never had a conversation about a final two, a final three, a final four. I had no intention of voting you out anytime, like relatively soon in that game. I think you probably would have been a casualty if it was a if I take her to the end, she destroys me, so she's gotta go. But yeah, it sucked, and rewatching the episode, yeah, it sucked watching you go because you actually were one of my favorite people out there, 100%. And I'm not fluffing ego or anything like that. I adore you, but yeah, it is kind of it's a bummer that regardless of intentions, which again I agree with you, I don't think it's anything intentionally malicious. It's a bummer that things went down chronologically the way that they did. And I think to reiterate your point, it's almost like a if you notice a pattern, maybe it's worth asking why that pattern exists. Because a lot of people just say, you're absolutely right. You can't just say, I'm never voting out a woman. I'm never voting out a person of color. There can only be one winner. So there's only so much you can do. And I absolutely would have been comfortable eventually voting out you, voting out Molly, voting out Antoinette. Just the order in which it was, or the pattern in which it was happening, I was like, this is not okay with me. But yeah, with that I'll pass. But no, again, Rose, I appreciate you so much for speaking up. And I know I felt kind of awkward being like, I don't want to be the cast pariah because I'm just perceived as sticking up for women and being a broken record on that, or sticking up for POCs. So I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you talking about it. And everyone in the circle. Like, I love all four, I can't count. I love all four of you, but yeah.
I want to say really quick though, because I think you've touched on it a bit. There is a certain point too where it's like when you're saying and you, Alex, you were always saying this. You were always talking about it and you were always challenging people. But there's a lot of people who are, afraid to talk about stuff like that as a detriment to their game. And even as you see, like when you get looped in, when I get looped in, like when Reynolds get looped in, because you start to say things like kind of the contrary of the way that like the grain is going, it is hard. And so I also like it kind of broke my heart watching the episode for Molly and Antoinette too, that they felt so forced that they had to do something like that to make the perception go away, because you could tell that they didn't want to do that, but they probably were thinking, well, if we don't do this, is this just going to get bigger, and then am I next? And I hate that kind of like, you could tell that is the feeling kind of going through the heads. Like, I don't want to speak for their feelings, but like you can tell pretty eminently that that's what they're saying. And that was pretty heartbreaking to hear them say those things, and see that they were feeling that way.
And heaven forbid this is the scenario that's playing out and it is a game for $1 million. Can you imagine like what some of the players have had to go through under the not exact same situations? Obviously, there's always gonna be differences. But I think that did get brought up by a few people when I was talking to them. Like, how do you go against the grain that way, or how do you tell people no? And I'm like, well, I've told you no multiple times, or told you that I wasn't comfortable voting a particular way. And I knew I was playing in a way that was just aloof enough and not threatening enough, not going into spoiler territory, where it's like I'm not pushing a narrative. I'm not telling people how to vote. I'm just explaining how I'm not going to vote or how I don't want to vote. But yeah, there's a certain element of people, even people who weren't yes men, who had, been talking strategy or talking about who they wanted to get rid of. And I'm just like, it's interesting to me how people who played in multiple games, again, I have a cat. People who played in multiple games have this mindset of, well, how do I say no? I love you so very, very much, but you need to hang out down here. But yeah, you have this mindset of, I completely lost the train of thought. Sorry. Yeah, sometimes you just have to say, I'm just not going to do that. And I knew full well in multiple occasions that it's like, yeah, the next time we vote, my name could be up or my time could be up because I don't want to vote for Rose. I don't want to vote for Jack. And I'm comfortable telling people that. I'm comfortable voting in the minority, and I'm comfortable telling people, yeah, I voted for you. If you come after me now, I 100% get it. And, I don't deserve a ribbon. I don't deserve a cookie. I don't deserve an award for it. It's just when I notice a pattern, I am the kind of person that likes to ask why. And if I feel like there might be a why or an unconscious why or anything like that, then it's like well, there's no money on the table for first place in this situation. It is a game, and obviously I want to be in it as long as humanly possible, but I also want to be in the game feeling like I'm a part of something or contributing in a way that I can sleep with, live with, all that good stuff. Again, not trying to virtue signal. Sorry, may ask Jack to cut that out. I know I'm a broken record, but these things are important. They really, really are, to have these conversations and to bring them up. Oh my God.
No, I agree, because it's like, at the end of the day, we play these games to have fun. So like, if you're playing them and then grouping people together consciously or unconsciously, like, you like should self-reflect a little bit and be like, okay, like, why am I thinking this? Like, why am I doing this? And like,
Yeah.
if you can't yourself be like, okay, I see the issue in this, I need to like not do this again, or like I need to fix it, like,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't play these games, and maybe you should
Yeah.
have like a self-centered conversation with yourself of like, okay, what could I do differently now?
Exactly. And then I promise I'm gonna put a timer on myself to shut the hell up. But to Rose's point, at the end of this episode, we have retake. At the end of this episode, we have 6 eliminated players, and in a 18-person cast with only 5 women, 3 of the 6 eliminated players by the end of episode 7 are women. And again, call it a coincidence. To me, I'm like, that's too amusing of a coincidence for me to call it one. But that's just me. And with that, I'll pass.
Yeah. I mean, at least on my end, even as I'm watching these episodes, I'm like, that was a little bit of a strange defense, or why didn't I just like stop for a moment and evaluate things? And maybe I was in my own head, but I think even like now, as I've watched these episodes and as I've gone on to do other things, I have actually taken things from this game and like been like, no, I didn't like how it felt then, so I'm gonna do something different this time around. And I think if you're not at least doing that with the games that you can see recorded and watch back and be like, no, that sucked. Let me do something else this time. Kind of says something. But
And I would also like to add like one last point. I don't think anyone on the specific cast did anything like out of like, I'm doing this to target a set group of people on purpose. Like, that is my only intent. I think it was just happenstance that it happened, and then it kept going on because then in a pressure cooker situation, it was something that you could grasp onto, which I still don't think you should do, and you should still reconsider and ask yourself why. But I don't think anyone did it out of just like I hate all women, I need to get them all out right now. I hate all POC, I need to get them out right now.
Yeah. I don't think that was anyone's intention in the least. I think people have a capacity to want to or tend to gravitate towards what they're familiar with and what they know. And that's human nature. It doesn't inherently make you a bad person for doing that. It just begs the question, if it's like, hey, if you look at all the games that you played in, if you look at all the people that have been your number ones, just ask yourself, hey, how many times have I had a final 2 or or a final two, final three with someone who's the opposite gender of me? Or how many times have I worked with someone of this culture or cultural background? How many times have I done this? And I guess that is more so what I would want people to take from conversations like this, is to just be more aware and to be like, hey, I haven't had a Final Four deal with a woman in 3 games in a row. Is it because the women in the games that I play in the last 3 games haven't been particularly trustworthy? Or is there more to it than that? And I think it's very common and very easy to just kind of dismiss questions like that because no one wants to be labeled a misogynist, no one wants to be labeled a racist. And I think most people at their core, if given like a very hard decision, they would go in a very neutral, fair way. But we're all susceptible to subconscious biases. And it's just worth asking ourselves questions like that. If you've never worked with someone of an Asian background, is it because you haven't played in a game with someone from Asia, or do you just know? It's very nuanced, and we're already at an hour and 25 minutes. But yes, to Rose's point earlier, I meant to mention it twice. Yeah, if you're watching a game and you're thinking, wow, I'd love to be in an LRG, it would absolutely hurt my soul if I played in a game where it's like, if heaven forbid the cast was equally divided gender wise, if it was woman, 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 man, woman, woman, woman. If you're a woman watching that game, do you just go, wow, this seems to be something that women get targeted in, so why waste my time? And it's like, we want the org community to thrive. We want it to grow. We want to bring more people into this wild madness of masochism that we subject ourselves to. And I think that's just another layer of just how we can be better as a community. So
taking this back to the game, because I do think that this is an interesting way to see it. I think you can also watch the game at this point, and this has probably enabled this a little bit more, is that the game to this point has been very much this game watching people crash out. It's like a game of hot potato. You do not want to be the person holding the hot potato, which is like the big marquee sign over you, blinking, flashing, giving everyone a reason. And like you said, any reason is a reason. Doesn't mean it's a right reason, and doesn't mean you shouldn't call out the reason. But it's like people are playing pretty cagey in this season, and so when that happens, you're just trying to avoid any attention on you possible. And so when you take advantage of it, like the overnight situation, and this is something that I find very interesting, because I think had we gone into another round that like the day of the battle back, probably a very different outcome happens. But when you have like the overnight and the stewing and everything, it's always very interesting to see kind of what happens after the first overnight or whatever, because you have people really pitching propaganda and seeing who can latch onto things like that. Because again, you don't want to be the person left holding the hot potato at the end of the round. And I think that's what we're seeing here. But yeah, I think all of that kind of contributes.
well, I know I thoroughly am so grateful that we've been able to have this conversation. In my brain, I'm sorry, Rose, I didn't mean to be like, oh, we can talk about it later. I was just like, I knew we were going to get to this. My thought was potentially it happening later in the episode. Didn't need to happen at any particular time. I'm glad it happened at all. But yeah, if everyone's okay, only because we are at the 128 mark, is everyone okay if we proceed on to I guess it would be officially day 3 of the game and moving into the round. Okay, perfect. So we do get told, or what was it? Where have my notes gone? I know that Monty finds a power. He finds the bench power, if I remember correctly. So that happens, and then what was it?
Sam wakes up,
There you go.
has had a bit of a night,
Yeah.
decides, you know what, to make myself feel better, I'm going to wear my half pendant that I found yesterday and kind of make this public information. And everyone else goes, what? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Sam, what do you do? Oh my God. Okay.
What did y'all think about that?
You know, everyone has their ways to make games fun and to do things to be a little out of the ordinary. I don't think I've ever seen someone just wake up the next morning and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna wear this." So for me, I was living for it because I was like, "Ooh, like I know this is gonna like start up some drama right away." Um, but like if I was Sam, I would have never done that. Like, why would you? That's like power that you have that like not really a ton of people know about. Why would you just out it to everyone?
I mean, I thought the exact same thing. I was with Molly when I found out, because we were in the laundry room talking, and it was one of the first real conversations I was having with Molly, just because I was like, we got to save the women, we got to save the women, and a woman just left at the hands of two of the women. So are they going to cut me if I continue to be um, perceived as with them? Am I going to be another Rose casual or the second Rose casualty to kind of help shrink their target? So Molly and I are trying to work together or talk to each other. I'm trying to build more of a strategic rapport with her. Sam comes in with the necklace and he says, "Oh, yeah, I found this. I've also heard you both have been talking about me," which I had been talking about him just to people in general, but I had never said anything negative about him. I had never said anything about targeting him. And he was like, "Just so you know, it's been said." And I looked at him and said, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this information or what you're saying to me. Like, okay, I don't know if you just don't believe me or whatever the case may be." So day 3 starts off a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs as far as what is going on in this game for me. I don't know how everyone else is feeling, but yeah, it was a journey.
At least on my end, I wake up and I go, okay, great. Sam's doing some weird shit. I played a game with Sam before. He did some weird shit in that game. Nothing surprised me anymore. I was just wondering when it was going to happen. So on my end, I just went, okay, moving on.
The leading up to this is kind of crazy for me because when Sam finds the half pendant overnight, tells me that he has a half pendant and I am the only person he is telling. That is a funny little tidbit of information for you all. So to see this man walk out with the pendant around his neck, what the fuck, Sam?
How did that make you feel when you saw that? Was it just the WTF of it all, or?
Um, I think it was just a WTF. Like there wasn't really a oh my god, I need to target Sam or anything like that. Um, I mean, I think partially because as you see, Sam wins safety and therefore can't be targeted anyway here. But I think there was like you see a confessional earlier on in the game where I start talking about like not being sure about Sam, like the liability of it all. And so when someone says like I trust you, I'm going to give you this piece of information that only you know, and then they're like, "Hey everyone, I have this." You just start to wonder like what's going on with this person. And so far, not really diminishing my view of being a liability.
No, because I do remember that confessional where you mentioned that, and I believe it was when he threw out Antoinette's name in the
Yeah.
Marchand round, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Um, so yeah, very, very interesting morning we are all having. We also have Andrew finding a half of a pendant. If I remember, that was before the round
Yes.
officially kicked off. So yeah, and Andrew sees Sam with the pendant. So, no spoilers. Time will tell what becomes of those. Um, but yeah, I kind of live for watching it back. It was interesting seeing Sam kind of like, "Oh yeah, I got this from my grandmother. What was it? She willed it to me." And I'm sitting here going, this man is having a morning, and I think all of us are, and I'm just going to not impede his progress for whatever kind of day he wants to have. So that was pretty much that. And then, unless anyone has anything else they wanted to bring up, we do have Revenge of the Fallen as our competition. So we have 5 challenges that are done each by a different member of the. I'm sorry, different member. We have 5 different challenges that are done by the eliminated players, and everyone is wanting to do their best to be faster or score higher than the individual on each one. So, yeah. So the first one was the running one, or the running challenge, performed by Ken. And I don't know about the rest of you. I have been running. I was a runner in high school. I had no idea how silly I look when I run. And I say that with love and self-deprecation because a lot of people in our cast look very silly when they run. So I am in excellent company. Does anyone have any lasting memories of the running bit?
Well, I remember looking at the running part and immediately knowing that I wasn't gonna put my all into it because I knew I wouldn't win. And one thing one thing that was common knowledge with Prod, and I don't remember if it's become common knowledge with the cast, is that I am a heart attack survivor. And I had a heart attack when I was 30.
News to me. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. Long story there. But production knew from the beginning, and I pretty much told them openly, like, if I feel like my heart's in danger, I will not, I'm not going to put myself in danger, for the game. And so they were very understanding of it. So this was one of those cases where I said, I'm not going to have my heart explode, running back up this hill. So I did run down the hill, but then I just walked back up because I was not interested in that part.
I think my favorite part was Antoinette falling and falling and falling, and just the way that it was shown in the episode by how Rachel did it with the like confessionals of leaving, like she falls and again and again, and it was just like I don't think I've laughed that much watching a comp in so long.
And the sound effects.
Between that and
Shady.
it happening right after the confessional I gave about Ken, and then the cut to him waving from the balcony. Editing top notch. Editing top notch.
I have known since beginning of May, or maybe middle of May when it got addressed, because we did this in groups for fans of the show who weren't there editing wise. We were in groups of 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, one group might be running, the other group might be doing the ring toss, the next group's doing the balancing puzzle. So we're not all one collective doing each individual challenge. So what was it in our group chat after the season ended? They had mentioned, "Oh, Antoinette fell." I was under the impression like, "Oh, she's coming up, she falls, she gets back up, that's it." Y'all did not warn me.
No.
Y'all did not warn me in 2025 that this was like a rinse repeat, rinse repeat, rinse repeat. Antoinette, I love you. Don't hate me. But yeah, I was like, I was not properly warned for the situation that we were going to be watching. So, but yeah, editing on that was so shady. But damn it, it was funny. So pick your poison there. I live either way.
I didn't get to see it. I was very much around her afterwards and was like, why are your legs so fucked up? And to see why now, I'm like, yeah, no, that actually makes complete sense. That was just, it was painful, but I will say the one thing that always gets me is people falling, and especially like this, easily the hardest I've laughed in a while.
I mean, I think it's only funny because of how long ago it happened, and also Antoinette's okay, I think. But yeah, it was hard not to chuckle. I'm sorry. I feel like a bad person for laughing at it, but it was quite the moment, and Antoinette's an icon, and she's fully aware. But yeah, so from that one, we probably what was it? I think the only thing from that one, I had a little moment and I was like, oh, if they keep it, or if they use it, when I got to the bottom where we were supposed to run, whoever was down there at the bottom, it might have been Brett, holding the camera. I was like, I gave a little cheeky blow of a kiss and then turned around and then ran. And I was like, ooh, if they use that, that'd be cute. But yeah, you live and you learn. And it didn't get used, and that's perfectly okay. But that challenge I actually liked just because I'm not a big puzzler, as we find out later in the episode. But I did enjoy the running bit. So
yes, speaking of the first puzzle, Charlie did complete the Tetris board puzzle, which was essentially inserting a bunch of pieces into a board. When I saw the time that Charlie put up, I was like, wow, that was actually an easy time to beat. One of us did not find that so easy.
Revisionist history is just going to say that actually Charlie stopped mid-challenge to fight with Sedona, and that's why the time went so long. We're just going to say that and give Charlie the grace here.
What's so funny is this was the one of the 5 challenges where I did not beat the Fallen. So it was Lee, you can laugh all you want. Let's do a running challenge tomorrow. Let's do it.
Okay, Stevie, calm down. Calm down.
I'm sorry, it's funny. I was very self-conscious about it because I literally was like, I had only seen this puzzle once before, and it was another LRG, and I can't remember which season you played, but Ascendance alum Michael Davis was in it. And before I could even like get all the puzzle pieces into the board to even try and figure out what I could shift around, he figured it out, and it was like less than 90 seconds. It was wild, and very impressive. I don't know what it was. That was my last challenge of the day. That was for my group, and I could not get it together. It was the only, up until the vote out of this episode, which I forgot I had cried. In my brain, I was like, game related. That was the only time I remembered crying because I was so frustrated and I just could not wrap my brain around this stupid puzzle. And then everyone who had finished with their other tasks were coming out. So there's like a good 8 cast members just off to the side, just watching me like try and not openly weep at how stupid I am not getting this puzzle together. So yes, if I have a Stevie moment, allow me my Stevie moment. Running is more fun than puzzles. I don't know what to tell everyone, at least for me. But yes, yeah, that puzzle and I are not good friends. He has not called me. I have not called him. And yeah, moving on. I think the next one was the balancing one, which was done by...
It was
Veronica?
done by Veronica, yes.
Okay. That one was funny because I was just like, look, I think Andrew was the one that said it. I was like, let me get like a good number. I think I got 7 or 8, and I was like, done. Someone's going to get too ambitious and probably lose all of their animals. And I can't even remember what the winning amount was for Veronica. Was it 5? Yeah.
Yeah, I got greedy and I had like 7 animals stacked and I was trying to go for 8 or 9 and they fell and I think I only got like 4 back up
Oh, no.
by the time the clock went.
Yeah, I used the exact same strategy I did with the Fallen. It was literally like, people are going to push their luck. I don't know if Veronica did, but I'm just going to get something that's stable and that feels good. I think I ended up getting 8 or 9 just based off the structure that I built. And I was like, I'm not pushing my luck any further. I'm good. You can let the time run.
Yeah, has anyone played the game Can't Stop before?
Yes.
This felt like the game Can't Stop because I just don't know when to stop. I was pretty well off in this challenge and I was like building, and then I just got bored and was like, let me build some more, and I dropped right before the time. Sad because had I done that, I would have been able to participate in the tiebreaker. But I'm a greedy person when it comes to little like luck based push your luck kind of things. It reminded me so much of Can't Stop though. It's a fun challenge, but if you want to bet against me, put me in a push your luck competition.
I have to find this Can't Stop game. It sounds fun.
It's great. It's on Board Game Arena. Play it.
It is.
Okay.
That was literally what I was about to say. Go play it on Board Game Arena. It's literally free.
I was going to say, Can't Stop or Board Game Arena. If you ever see this video, don't sue us and also sponsor us. Yay.
Literally. I use your stuff too much.
They are poor. They will not sponsor anyone, but
I was going to say, well, now that you've said that, they definitely won't sponsor us, but that's okay. Next up, what was the name of the 4th puzzle? I can't remember.
It was the Picasso puzzle
Picasso.
done by Sedona, which was essentially, here's a shape. match it.
Yeah.
But you have 16 blocks and there isn't defined lines.
Now this one, Papa, keep me correct. I think on this one, I initially finished, or I said check, and you said you're correct. And then eventually it was like, wait, Alex, you're not correct. So I had to go back and flip a couple of cubes, if I remember right.
I honestly don't know. I don't remember specifics like that. But
That's okay.
if you think it is, then I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. Fair enough. I think I was, yeah. That's how I remember it going down, but I could be wrong. That one I actually liked. I almost bought that when I got home just to like have. It's a fun puzzle.
I like the Picasso puzzle, yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
I will say, giving me multiple puzzles and or games where I could just use psychology to be like, yeah, no, I'll be fine here if I just do this, was very nice after coming back via a puzzle and a psychology game. Like, I didn't mind it. I was like, good, they're rigging for me a little bit. I needed this right now. But yeah, no, this was nice where I was like, okay, I know exactly how to solve this. Like, really quickly realizing that the blocks are made in a very specific way to where it's like you have 2 blocks where it will either be all one color or half one color, or they're going to be curved in weird ways. Just realizing that you can get the puzzle done like that. It's just those little connections, and that's what I can do fast.
And then I completely forgot that we did the ring toss thing, which either do well in a ring toss or you don't.
Bad time.
That was another one of those ones where I'm like, well, thank God I'm tall, because that's probably going to be helpful in this. But
yeah, the ring toss was not going to work for me. It was never going to work for me. So I just kind of accepted it and moved on.
yeah. So we do all that, and I'm trying. I feel like something happens, or someone might have found a power between the end of the challenge and the results of the challenge, and I feel like I'm missing it. Jack, do you have your
Yes.
notes more organized than mine? I'm sorry.
I want to say that between this all wrapping up and the first kind of announcements happening, Monty just finds a block a vote. Just does. This is a second advantage in a single episode. Just because he has to.
Can someone please explain me again? I know Papa can't. Someone just tell me, where are these powers being found? There's just no hope for people like me. I'm not observant enough.
You know, there is something else on why this is so entertaining. So that benched power that Monty found earlier this episode,
which we didn't even talk about,
immediately uses it. Immediately.
So interesting that he did.
And he sits Maddie and Molly out of this challenge. And he doesn't realize how good of a decision this is until we find out the results of said challenge. But yeah, no, this if Monty wanted to target Maddie with this was a good way to do it.
Molly, questionable.
Molly, I feel like he had one idea of a person he wanted to sit out and was like, who else? And I feel like looking back on it, there was probably a correct answer in Derek, but I don't think he was ever going to actually do that. So
yeah, I remember in the morning right before I went out to start the like challenge announcement and stuff, a prod member had walked in and was like, hey, this is being used. And I was like, who used it? Because I didn't even know anyone found it. And they were like, Monty. And he had written on the back, like, who to bench. And I looked at the names and I was like, huh? Monty did this? Are we sure? I was like, okay. But can confirm Monty did do it. And I still don't know why.
I think it's a fine move if the idea is confusion. Which seems like from his confessional that was the intention. That it's just, I want to kind of throw people off. I want to shake things up. Clearly Maddie was an op here, but like the Molly thing, while like we're all thinking in the moment, like, why would you sit her out? She's not going to win anyway. it does, like, your attention goes to that and not who did it. And so I guess in retrospect, that is like a really smart play.
Yeah. Because this never comes up again. It's just like, oh, and Maddie was sat out. Weird. Moving along. So, moving along, we do in fact have the partial results for this challenge. Being Maddie and Molly are benched. Rose and Antoinette beat one person. Lee and Monty beat 2 people. Alex and Stevie beat 4 people and become captains. And surprisingly, Andrew, Derek, myself, Reynolds, and Sam go to a tiebreaker with 2 captains at final 13. How many more captains do we need?
Girl, we were all asking that.
Immediately alarm bells. Immediately. Which, good on production for absolutely confusing the shit out of us.
See, in any scenario, every season tries to, like, guess how many captains there might be each round. I think the one, like, consistent thing throughout every single season is the final 13 round is always the, like, merged type round. So, like, when y'all were, like, so shocked that we were doing, like, so many captains, I was like, how's no one clocked that this is just, like, that merged type round? So
I
thought
remember people
that was
bringing
so
it up
interesting.
too.
People did.
I remember people bringing it up, and I think some people were like, no, but it didn't. I think because the idea was out there, it's like surprising, but it's also not surprising at the same time, because you have, like, it definitely was being talked about in the moment. I don't remember who brought it up first, but it was out there. And I think for no other reason, just the fact that the competition was taking so long, that you're like, they're not going to split teams and have us do a team comp on top of all of this, because the Revenge of the Fallen competition is taking, like, the better part of, like, 2-3 hours, I would say. I'd say more on the 2-hour side, but, like, definitely
Yeah.
too long that you're like, you want the round to end reasonably soon.
Yeah. And I watched season 5, I watched season 4, and I think I watched season 1. I think my brain just never connected that was a common thread amidst all the seasons. At that point, I was just like, oh, I'm safe. I'm a captain. Great. I think I quit caring at that point. So I think in my mind,
I will note,
oh, go
at
ahead,
least
Jack.
on my end, I definitely had a conversation with Antoinette the previous night where she was like, yeah, and I mean, they've done a game called, like, Hierarchy at this stage. And I was like, oh, describe it to me. Oh, it was like a bunch of animals attacking you. I know immediately what this is. I've run food chains so many times, and I'm like, oh, wow, that'd be really awesome to play. I've always wanted to see what I'd do if I was actually put in a game like that. And then slowly over this round, I realize this is the replacement for that, and I get a little bit pissed off of, like, I really, really want to try that. Damn it.
Well, and then we also get at this point, we don't know how many captains there's going to be in total, but then Andrew, Derek, Jack, Reynolds, and Sam do, I guess we call it the tiebreaker. And thank Jesus, thank God, thank Buddha, thank Krishna, thank Rava, thank all of them, I was not in this puzzle, because we'd still be in Tennessee right now if I was trying to put this thing together. Absolutely not. Y'all freaking wild for that one. But I loved watching that competition go down, but I was not excited. I would not have been excited to do it. So, Jack, what was it? However lengthy or briefly you want to talk about it, how was that challenge for you?
I mean, once again, they threw me another puzzle, so I was happy. I very much was like, okay, I know there's a strategy here. I just have to break this down somehow. And it was entirely just like finding squares where it's like, okay, these all line up. Can I find an edge that I can extend this to where it looks like it's a line? Okay, I can do that on the bottom here. Okay, so find the other edge. Okay, I can do that. And by that point, as you're building out the edges, you're like, no, I can be confident that this is right, because it would be statistically improbable for it to be like, okay, I have a 3x3 square. None of the other pieces make two edges, and that's just, it just is pure coincidence this also works. So at a certain point, I just became more and more confident, and eventually I just kind of pieced this puzzle together and go, oh wow, they can't say my name. That's nice. That's a nice feeling for once. It only took me being voted out for that to happen.
I was genuinely happy to see you to see you be safe that round.
Me too.
You can see it on my face a little bit as we're reading results of like, oh, Alex and Stevie are captains. I'm like, great. Lost again at the last possible step. Whatever. Oh, okay, we're doing a tiebreaker. Great, there's still a chance. And then just seeing it and going, okay, no, I got this. Cool. Give me some time. But yeah.
Was this remind me, is this your first round in the entire game that you're safe?
Yes.
Oh my god, I can't fathom.
Yeah, no, after 6 rounds, having been eliminated, winning 3 challenges in a row, coming back and winning another challenge, exhilarating, because I'm like, finally, I'm untouchable for fucking once. Jesus Christ.
Finally, it is happening to me. No, what's wild is y'all really well after the results and Jack is safe. I'm trying to remember. Sam and Andrew are safe, and then obviously Stevie and I are safe. We go into a 13-person battle royale. Like, hold on to your butts if you're not safe. We gotta vote someone out, and what a round we get from that.
Yeah, notably, Stevie finally gets to vote.
Which
He's still safe, but he gets to vote.
That's so mind-boggling to me that was his first time voting and it was your first time being safe. Like that, the dichotomy or the spectrum there is just absolutely wild to me.
Yeah, so Maddie, Molly, Antoinette, Rose, Lee, Monty, Derek, and Reynolds, all vulnerable. Alex, Stevie, myself, Sam, and Andrew, all safe. And we head into Jesus Christ this round.
I desperately want to know, first question about just the deliberations. Papa, walk us through, if not what you witnessed, just your thoughts, because I remember just thinking this is a lot, and I was safe. So
Yeah, I don't know. I love the like big like merged round because it really forces like everyone in the game to talk with everyone. I feel like a lot of the times like you have people like Stevie or like Jack where it's either they're always going or they're always safe. So this kind of forces them to finally have those conversations if they haven't been on teams. I think in this round specifically, with just all the stuff that was being brought up and the drama that was starting to like boil over, I think it really made for the little filming I did this round fun to watch because I kind of let everyone else film and I was getting like the living room footage and stuff like that. I think the most notable thing was the struggle of Maddie like trying to figure out should he use the pendant, should he not, and like watching him kind of go through that stage of like grief of do I use it on myself, do I not even use it, or now I have to consider using it on Derek.
no, because that's definitely an interesting bit. We know that Andrew has half a pendant. Derek, or not Derek, Sam has half a pendant. Maddie has a pendant, and I in any game that I've ever been in, I've never had a pendant. I tend to not even look for them because I feel like if I had one, there's a 10 out of 10 chance I get voted out with it in my pocket anyway. So I almost kind of am like kudos to Maddie for considering it playing for an ally, and I don't want to speak for him. I don't know if his reason for doing that is anything aligned with why I would probably do that if I ever had a pendant or a hidden immunity idol, whatever the case may be. But yeah, so that's one of the main threads that's going on is Derek's name's coming up, Monty's name starts coming up, Rose's name starts coming up. Rose, I know when they start showing the deliberations, you and Monty kind of head into the laundry room relatively quickly into that. At that point, were you and Monty particularly close, working together, aligned? What was your relationship with Monty at that point?
Like, I mean, it's been months. It's hard to remember exactly. Like, the clearest memory I have is definitely Lee as my closest ally. But I do think, um, given the votes that we made and everything, in the moment of us move going into the laundry room, I think I definitely considered him an ally at the time. So, and given how the round played out with his votes, the way his votes played out and everything, I think, yeah, we were definitely at least aligned if we weren't close allies,
Mhm.
at least. So,
So
Yeah,
yeah, I guess that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Lee.
no, I was just gonna say, I think from the way that the night played out beforehand, because the anti-Derek agenda really came from Monty. It came from the target identified challenge where we're dropping the balls. Like you see the confessionals about it. Um, Monty is the spearhead of this anti-Derek on the morning or whatever, but somehow Monty is spiraling over the idea that it's him or Rose, and he must vote Rose or it's him. Which is so funny, just because in retrospect, like he gets no votes, but he is fixed on this idea that he must vote Rose or he's dead. Um, so I think that that is an interesting piece, because I do think that Rose and Monty were aligned in the game. I do think they were, and you could tell, like, at least in the moment, it felt more like a desperation vote on his part,
Yeah.
despite everyone being like, you even see it, like, Monty, the only person saying your name is you. And and I remember that being so clear in the game. Like, I don't know where your name's coming from. I don't know why you think people are voting you. No one is. And I think that, like, that alone, like, that kept a lot of us, like, I was personally very surprised that Rose got the most amount of votes. I didn't think it was happening. I thought that Derek was getting the most amount of votes. I mean, you see kind of in the switch up and why, like, I know that our three votes on Maddie were not really this coordinated effort, but I didn't think Rose was getting the most. I also, apparently, watching the votes back, I apparently at the time thought that Rose had a pendant as well. So I was just ready to, like,
There was so much.
there was a lot, because people just had everything, and you're like, well, this person probably has something, and this person probably has something too.
I was
But
gonna say, let me quickly just. This
Oh,
is what's
Jesus.
in the game. Just note that 3 things are already gone. Sam and Andrew have half pendants. Sam is public. Andrew's isn't. Maddie has a conditional pendant that can only be used in odd rounds, aka this round. Monty has a block a vote, and Molly has a join a vote. So there's a lot of different ways that this vote can go down. Like, literally all of these, except for Molly's, because of the oddness of this vote, can be used. And it's very strange. But yeah, no, there's a lot of talks of advantages, including just a small convo of everyone going, Molly, do you have a pendant? And Molly goes, no, what the fuck? Why
does
is he
every
saying this?
It's like, who started this narrative, and how may I be removed from it or excused from it? Poor Molly. Because I do remember a lot of that started coming up this round about her having one. So, and Jack's just fanning the fire, fanning the fire.
I fanned it once, and apparently Maddie and Molly just ran.
Hey, wait, Molly ran with it?
Maddie and Monty.
Oh, I thought you said Maddie and Molly. That's why I was like, huh? That's wild.
I'm losing it.
Huh? There you go. So yeah, so we see. I don't remember Monty's name in the episode. I definitely don't remember from 4 months ago. 5 months. What month are we in? Monty's name coming up this round. I do remember Rose's name coming up, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna be the broken record yet again. I'm not voting for Rose. I'm not voting for another woman. This is silly. Yeah, I'm not about it. And at that point, what was it? I think at that point I had pretty much just been like, well, Maddie's got a pendant. And I had asked him, are you going to use it? And in my mind, he was going to use it on himself. And then I think I found out he was potentially going to use it on Derek, but he wasn't sure. And that's when I was like, I'm just going to vote for Maddie with the mindset of, oh, I thought you were going to play the idol on yourself. So you can't be mad at me for voting for you again. And yeah, that's kind of how that went down. But there just seems to be this continued momentum to vote out Rose, which, yeah, I think looking back, I'm trying to think how to phrase this without involving spoilers. Um, I wish I had asserted myself more. At this point in the game, I'm still very, I kept telling players, or I think this is the episode where it shows me saying, I don't know who knows who. I mentioned in front of Reynolds, like, apparently you know Derek. And he's like, oh. And instead of just confirming it, he says, oh, I know a bunch of people. And I'm like, okay. So you're not someone I feel safe throwing a name out in front of. So yeah, so I keep waiting. I'm biding my time, hoping that if I say enough times, I don't know who knows each other, so I'm scared to throw out a name. I'm scared. I'm thinking someone's gonna pull me aside and be like, Alex, I want to rock with you towards the end of this game because you're obviously just looking for a home. That clearly does not happen this vote because I'm in the minority for the third time, fourth time. I've lost track how many times I voted in the minority. Where's y'all heads at for the votes?
At least at this point, I'm hearing that Rose's name is being brought up. I don't want to do that. I already told her, like, hey, you're pretty good with me. So I'm looking at, oh, Derek's name is being mentioned and being very heavily pushed by Stevie. Like, literally every single conversation, Stevie is like, hey, we could vote Derek. Oh, you heard other names? But Derek! Derek is the name we should... Derek? No, not Rose or Monty. No, Derek. And it's a consistent thing to the point where I'm like, huh, maybe I will. That's an interesting move.
Stevie woke up very differently that day.
So it's the T-shirt thing. I think that's what
It
just
was the
gave him his
T-shirt,
power.
but and you see it be talked about in the episode a lot, but Stevie is just like asserting himself in a very different way. And I do think that there were talks that were had in the overnight. I remember specifically, like, Stevie, it wouldn't hurt if you were like involved in a vote. And somehow he took that and he's like, I need to go in and be like involved in the vote. It was funny because what the edit showed was pretty accurate, and I think how it felt in that moment of how Stevie was involving himself in the vote.
It's like, Stevie, you're at a 10. We need you at about a 7.
Yeah, and with that passion, I think it helped kind of create this idea that Derek really was getting the majority, because the way Stevie was really going to town on it, like, I definitely left the discussion time thinking Derek has the majority and needs the pendant to be played on him.
Yeah, I mean, I even tell him directly, like, hey, I don't know what it's going. It's either you or Rose. Get Maddie to play the pendant on you. And in that moment, I am thinking, let me get the pendant out while also kind of making Derek a problem for a later round, but also kind of influence Maddie to be a problem for a later round. Like, this does inadvertently send home Rose, but puts two people in front of me that I don't have to deal with and that their names have come up hard, to where if I'm not safe next round, people can't default to, hey, want to do it again?
I also have to say, Reynolds was kind of stone cold here in that Derek discussion, because being attached to Derek, who we know that he knew at least a little bit, and being like, you see his vote and he's like, I just don't want to be attached to someone, and so you got to go, sorry, is so funny to watch from start to finish. And it's like, I know you said, Alex, like I'm afraid to throw a name out because I don't know who's connected to who. But he had no problem voting Derek out of the game right then and there. As soon as he heard someone say, "We think you're a duo," he's like, "Bye, Derek."
And I had a very similar come to Jesus moment with that, just with Maddie. End a round late.
Care to elaborate?
I just decide after all of this, let me make sure the heat's on Maddie Foley. I know I didn't say I wouldn't throw any votes. The first time I'm safe, let me just throw a vote. Let me just have fun with this. And I throw it right on Maddie.
She went to the school of Lee, learning to throw votes.
Apparently, it was just in the air. But, yeah.
We love a hinky vote. We love a hinky vote.
This round is just chaos.
Oh, this round was bananas. Bananas. It was wild.
The edit of the pendant to the 3 negated votes to Derek to immediately the 3 votes to Maddie is just
Oh.
and the acting, the acting of the people in the back row, most of which who have voted Maddie. Like, what has happened?
I mean, me and Lee kind of looking at each other like, what? Wow.
And when Maddie gets the 3rd vote and you see Reynolds and I like look over at each other, and then Reynolds' face the whole time just like gagging, laughing, just like here for the whole thing. Like,
and then Molly's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah. And you see like Molly look back at him, and I'm thinking, if I was another person and I saw Reynolds' face in that moment, I would think Reynolds was the one that threw a vote on Maddie, because like the way he's laughing, the way he's just like gagging, it's so unserious. It's so good.
I think the 3rd vote is the one where I went, oh, did I just vote out Maddie? Wait, did enough people have the same idea as me? Because just to be clear, my first ever game, someone nearly went home in a 7-6 vote because 6 different people threw a hinky vote. So like, I'm just going, oh shit, we did it again. This is the same vote count. Oh my god. Oh no. So in the back of my mind, until enough Rose votes come out, I'm like, great. Okay, we're going right back to hell with this cast.
Rose, at the time of all this leading up, and it's fine if you don't remember, did you have kind of in your mind like the people like, okay, I'm fairly confident I'm good with this person, I'm fairly confident I'm good with this person? Like, which votes, if any, do you think you felt really strongly that you had?
I mean, I was pretty confident I had Lee's vote, like not to leave, but to save, obviously.
Yeah.
I felt pretty good about Jack. I felt pretty good about Reynolds. I felt pretty good about Monty.
Yeah. Did you think I was going to vote you out?
No,
Oh, okay.
never in a million years. I thought I was good with Molly. Antoinette,
Yeah.
But yeah. So I actually I think at one point after the game, I don't think this is a spoiler because it involves a member of Prod, but someone had asked us, what is it like being in strategy time? And I said, okay, you run to one room, you say blah, 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 blah. You run to another room, you see who's there, blah, 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 and then you run to another room and you see who's there, and you blah, blah again. And also, Lee and I are in a room and we say, so you think we should vote out Alex? Yes, I agree. Let's vote out Alex. And then Alex walks in. So we're going to vote for Jack, right? You immediately switch the conversation. So in the middle of all of this, it is very hard to know how anything's going to go. It's very, very hard because with all of this craziness happening, it's like you're being fed what you want to hear at any given moment. And so it's impossible to really know how anyone's going to vote. So, but I will admit to being like mentally tired during this time. This isn't the same as an org where I can have 6 or 7 conversations going on at the same time, like behind a keyboard, with the screen up or whatever. So, and I am very much an introvert, and my social battery was out. And I think multiple times during in the days leading up to, in the days since the game started, Lee, I know you caught me at one point just sitting on the couch away from everyone, just needing a moment to to just decompress. And it's actually kind of funny to see the scene with me and Molly on the couch. I was having another moment, and Molly comes over and starts talking strategy, and I'm like, okay, and I turn to her and I start talking. But like, yeah, I will admit to being mentally tired at this point. So by the end of strategy time, I was like, I don't even care if I go. I just, I'm just tired at this point. And that's not to say I would have given up. Like if I had made it to the next round, I would have still given it my all. But like there came a time going into the vote where I just had this calm feeling about myself, just like, okay, what happens will happen. I'm not gonna break down and cry like I did during Jack's vote. I'm just gonna, see what happens here, and I'll be fine with whatever it is. And so I was not, I wasn't surprised and I wasn't upset about how it turned out, because LRGs are a different beast. They really are. And this was my very first one. And so like um one thing one thing that was pointed out to me later was that I was not as social as I usually am in an org, because like I said, I can have 6 or 7 conversations going on at the same time. And in orgs, I'm known as a very social player, and I am. And like I'm also very much under the radar at the beginning. So the way I played this game was very, very different from how I usually play it. And it was kind of brought to my attention, and I didn't realize this during the game, but it was kind of brought to my attention that I was like kind of gravitating toward the same people and not giving a lot to other people, which could maybe have contributed to me being voted out, which I accept that. Whenever I play one of these games, I play each game a little bit different, and every time I learn something new. And this time, the big thing I learned was, okay, if I play one of these LRGs again, I need to go around and try to be more social, in spite of my social battery, in spite of my of my introvertedness. Because in real life, I'm actually a very shy person. These games, in these games, you basically play a character, and my character is the social butterfly or the funny one or the whatever, and uh, and that's fun. I like doing that, but it's also very tiring for someone who's as introverted as I am. So next time I do this, I'm gonna try to be more social, try to talk more with different groups of people, and see where that gets me. And maybe that'll be the thing that people target me for next time, But yeah, like I said, I wasn't surprised by how the vote went. I wasn't upset by it. Everything I said at the end was true. Everything, like I've never been one to go out on a bitter note. I've never been one to do that. And I have actually gotten a few messages since then from people who said they needed to hear those words. And that makes me happy. That makes me very happy, because I said them for a reason, and I added the thing during my final confessional for a reason, and that is, that is, I did come from a place of really serious hurt, and these games kind of made me feel better about myself. And if I can use this platform that I have to help other people feel better, then everything's worth it, you know. And so that's why at the end I wasn't sad about about leaving. I would have been happy to stay, but I wasn't sad about leaving. The other stuff notwithstanding, you know, in the end, I felt happy about the way I played. I had a good time, and I think I made an impact. So, what more could I ask for?
You absolutely did. 120%. It wasn't until I watched it play back. Your elimination made me cry. One, because I didn't want to see you go, and then two, what you said during your elimination speech really hit me because not to really throw myself on the couch here. Like, yeah, the last year's been really funky, and talking about just the way things are in the world right now. What was it? Therapy issues, all that good stuff. It really is empowering to just have anybody just say, or hit a lot of the points that you hit. And you did it so succinctly and so effortlessly. And you truly are an icon, Rose. 120,000%. I know you already know this. And if you don't already know this somehow magically, I hope you hear it from me, and I hope you hear it from literally dozens of people. You just bring such a light into this community, and I'm just completely in love with you. So thank you for not only being a part of this experience, but also just being you.
Well, thank you. And 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 I did like on a lighter note, Lee, you and I had some stories to share about our time as roommates.
So this is actually a really fun story to kind of like shut myself up, but when Rose and I became roommates, it was after the first full day of the game. So Sedona was gone. They closed off the room, and so some of us moved into a place. And so our bedroom speakeasy was me, Rose, and Alex, who was sleeping in the closet with a dead cricket. Um,
We didn't know about
and
the dead cricket until like day
I
3.
I pointed out the dead cricket right away, Alex. Anyway, so there is this night. So Rose and I would lay in bed just talking shit. And I remember telling Rose one night, as soon as Marshawn had proposed like the gentleman's club or whatever, and the voting out all the women thing, I was like, Rose, Marshawn wants to vote out all the women. I don't think anyone's on board with that. We're just like giggling or whatever. And so we would sleep, and Rose somehow slept through my snoring these nights. And but one night we hear a lot of noise. And so Rose goes out into like the living area, and she comes back, and of course I'm up because I'm like, oh, I wonder if like something's happened. And you just hear this noise coming. So you hear like the loud TV noise, and then you hear what is like a freight train also on top of it. And Rose comes in. She's like giggling her ass off. And I'm like, Rose, what has happened? What has happened? She gets in bed and she's like, okay, I have to tell you. She's like, first of all, she's like, Maddie's snoring louder than you. And, and she's like, but I didn't hear the snoring over the TV roaring. And I'm like, what's on TV? She said, VeggieTales. They're watching VeggieTales. So we're just laughing the whole time, talking shit about the fact that like Maddie's snoring is like competing with the decibel level of VeggieTales, and somehow like Marshawn is also involved in the living room asleep somehow. We were wondering like, how is he sleeping despite both of these noises? I love you, Maddie. I feel comfortable talking about your snoring because pot kettle. But anyway, it was one of my funniest, fondest memories in the game. I told Rose, I was like, we have to share this here because it has no relevance to the game, but it is something we giggled about the entire time.
I genuinely think like I have heard versions of this VeggieTale story, but not the full thing until now. And oh my god.
We asked, we're like, why did you choose VeggieTales? And I remember Marshawn said it was the only thing I could find. You had the YouTube app on the TV. The only thing you could find was VeggieTales?
Like literally, did every other channel just go on vacation? It begs the question. I remember hearing about VeggieTales, but not to this extent. That's there's never ever been a show like VeggieTales. Don't ask me how I know
Oh,
that lyric. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, things like that, like outside of the game, just things like that made this whole experience so fun and so hilarious. So like, I think I mean, and Lee, I was very glad to meet you, especially finally in
Mm-hmm.
person. And I told Lee this at some point later. I said I would have chopped my arm off before I betrayed you. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
And same.
Yeah.
And same. Yeah.
but
The-
really quick, just so we can get this off the screen, I want to put out the one weird thing with this. So Monty decides, you know what? I'm going to block Sam's vote. For what reason? We have no idea. And Sam, during Rose's lovely speech, is obviously in tears, emotional over voting out Rose. And to know that it didn't matter because Sam's vote, no matter how he went, was not happening is just. It's a beautiful cherry on top of the absolute mess of this episode.
What was Sam crying prior to Rose's speech?
No.
no.
Oh, okay. That's why I was like, huh?
Mm.
Wow.
There's also just this remarkable irony that Monty was so convinced that he was the other name opposed to Rose, and Sam was a Rose voter. So that sent me watching the whole thing.
And it is kind of sad knowing that like if with the block of vote, like if and given the numbers that we had, if we had been somehow been more coordinated and if we had played the cards right, Maddie could have gone home instead of me, or Derek could have gone home depending
Mhm.
on how we played our cards. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, it would have it. You know, like I said, I'm not upset with how it
Yeah.
turned out. And sometimes I do wonder, like, if Maddie had gone home that round, how would the rest of the game have played out? So, and that's getting into spoiler territory, and we can talk about
Yeah.
that off camera.
Yeah,
There you
But
go.
I will
The world may never
say
know. Sorry, go ahead.
something you, oh no, sorry. One thing you said, Rose, though, I think alludes to a lot of this is that this is way different than probably some games people watching have played if they've never played an LRG, because you can't always get the people you want into the room to have a discussion. A lot of times there's so much luck and randomness in terms of like you have to have the discussions with the people you're in the room with. Sure, if you could have a conversation with every single person, you can then assess who are the people that we can group together to vote under the same interest. You just don't have that luxury of time or space. And a lot of times, thinks of when Alex didn't allow Ken to talk to certain people by himself. Like, you don't even have that luxury to be able to get the right people in the room without certain other people in the room. And so I think if you haven't played an LRG and you are wanting to, that is definitely something you have to think about, is that there is a great deal of luck in some of these games, even in the social component. You can be the best social player ever and still find yourself limited by the rooms you're in and the people who are in them.
and your social battery, and what time you go to sleep, and the people you happen to be eating lunch with, and just all of these things come together to make this beautiful butterfly of just garbage.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. But that just about as we cross the lovely 2 hour and 30 minute. We thought this would be shorter, but then,
Oh,
you know, we had a lovely conversation, and even then I was like, yeah, no, this actually makes a lot of sense. There's this could have been a 2 hour episode and no one would have blinked. Like 2 hours
no.
of actual footage
Yep.
in show, and no one would have blinked or bothered. But thank you all for being here.
Mhm. Thank you
Uh,
for having me.
I want to say before all of us head out, first off, Rose, it broke me to see you go out as much as it did. I mean, I did try and essentially engineer it to secure my own spot, but like it was still rough, and you are one of the sweetest people I've ever met. It was just it was so heartbreaking, especially after the round we had prior, where it's like we kind of declared each other as like, no, we want to work closely together, and it just didn't happen. So
Like, just remember, everyone, you are good enough.
I was gonna say, stop trying to make me cry in this episode. Knock it off, Rose. Knock it off. You got me. You got me in Tennessee. You're not gonna get me here. Um, no, completely co-signing on everything to do. I'm sorry, completely co-signing on what Jack was just saying. Um, Literally from like minute one of us meeting each other on day one of the game, I was immediately drawn to your energy. You have such a great sense of humor, such a sense of composure, and just such a wonderful ability to connect with people. And yeah, I can't say enough wonderful things about you because I just think you're an absolute joy and a delight. And it sucked seeing you go this episode. It was very much I lost Jack and Jack came back immediately. I'm losing Rose. Can I get Rose back immediately? Is such a thing possible? Can we make that a thing? Um, but yeah, no, the community is that much more blessed and that much more rich because you were a part of it. 120%.
What you just said actually reminded me of one thing. One final thing was like I mentioned during my speech that I was leaving a community that hurt me very deeply, which I won't get into here. But like after my first long form org, like I was still dealing with the aftermath of all of that, and so after my first game, I had a period where I was extremely depressed and extremely like anxious about some things, and I was kind of ranting to one of my friends that I had made during that first long form org that I had played, and Jeff Ellis, if any of you know him, um, he and I were talking, and one thing he said really stuck with me and kind of became a foundation for how I play these games and also just for how I approach people. Was he said, "I don't think you understand just how captivating you can be." And I never forgot that, and I was always very thankful to him because it gave me something to be confident about. It gave me something to be happy with myself over. And the other stuff from that other community, I'm still not over it. It happened 4 years ago. I'm still not completely over it. I don't know if I ever will be. But that is something that I can hold on to. And trying to help other people maybe not feel the way I did at that time, I that's what I strive for. That's what I tried to be. And also just treating people like people, you know. And I've built some amazing connections with all of you, with other people in the game, with other people in the other games I've played. I've built some amazing connections since then, and I just want to thank all of you for that, and whoever's watching too. If I've made a connection with you, I thank you for that too.
well, Lee, Papa, do you have any last lovely words for Rose before we close out here?
I will never forgive you. In the wise words of Rose, and then she makes everyone chuckle. No, it was lovely having you, Rose. I love you, and if there's anybody's elimination from the season that I was gonna tear up for IRL, it was gonna be yours. So you had some lovely words, and then even after in post, you were like, "Can I come do some more final words on top of my other ones?" And they were so touching, and I just love you.
Everything Papa said. venture to say, I think Rose was the first person eliminated that I still go back and I'm like, what the fuck did Rose do wrong? Everyone else you can kind of trace back and be like, this kind of led to this. Rose, I have a hard time with. So I think like it. I know Rose, you have a lot of feelings, justifiably so, about why you were targeted and everything, but I think that just speaks to like what a force you were and how threatened people were by you. Um, and I didn't vote you out, so I don't feel any guilt. But I just want to say, I think that it speaks to like the power you had, that like you truly were like this titan that I think got taken out of the game. And I just can't say enough other really great things about you and the kind of player you are and the kind of player that you could have been had you squeaked by here, because you were mollywopping us in the game. Not
She
to be
was.
confused with Molly, Zach.
What does mollywopping mean? I don't even think I've heard that one.
I live in Kentucky, hush.
No, that wasn't shade. I'm just not familiar with the term. Call me uneducated. I'm from the West. Well, what was it? Jack, you already went, right? Yeah, you
Yes,
went first. I'm dumb. Well, we have pushed the 2.5 hour mark, as Jack had said before. Rose, again, you're a legend, you're an icon. Lee, thank you so much for making your debut. Papa, apparently we only get you once this season unless we can like hogtie you and force you to be here for the finale. Fingers crossed. But thank you both, gentlemen, for being here so much. Jack, as always, it is such a joy and such a dream doing this with you. Thank you for being such a wonderful co-host. I adore you.
it is always a pleasure, especially with the lovely guests we have, and especially you, Alex, because you make this so worthwhile every single time.
I don't know who you're talking to.
But with that said, once again, thank you to the Subversion team, the Ascendance team, and also Duke, who helps us get all of this lovely content out. And with that said, it is about to cross the 1:30 a.m. mark here, and I'm going to try not to pass out into my keyboard on hitting the end record button. So thank you all so much for watching. If you've gotten here, Jesus Christ, like, subscribe, everything. Have an amazing rest of your night, and we'll see you here next week, hopefully with not this long of an episode. So bye.
Bye.
Say goodbye, stars.